Producers, if you're serious about pursuing any or all of these paths in your music career, then you're definitely not going to want to miss this video, because you're going to learn from all the mistakes that I made so you don't have to make them, plus how I gained over 2,100 subscribers on YouTube, signed 2 sync licensing deals, and had a little bit of success on selling beats online.
Chase freedom.
So definitely want to hear about that journey and why you came back. But please welcome to the podcast, Chase Freedom.
I was eyeing taxi for a little bit, taxi music. And I decided to just say, you know what's the worst that can happen, right? They actually offered a money back guarantee if you weren't happy with their service. I dove into that and I got humbled really quick, to say the least. Multiple reasons. I mean, my music wasn't ready and I wasn't ready to receive the feedback that first year that I signed up with them. It at least made me learn about sync licensing and all the other possibilities there are to make music right from your bedroom or from your home. Yeah, I mean, I did that for a year.
And while you were doing that, like, were you doing like your YouTube channel at all, or
No,
this was all before?
This is actually back in 2013. So yeah, I have a lot of zigzags in my journey here. So I did that, and then like a lot of people, I gave up. I actually went to school for a couple of years, but I don't know, there was something still burning inside of me saying, no, like, you can go back to it. There's always time. Just go back to it and put your mind to it. So by the time 2018 rolled around, that's exactly what I did. That's my first jump into the whole type beat channel. And the way that I approached that was just, I learned now the complete wrong way. I mean, every single beat I uploaded, not only were they not that good, but I was using different tags on every single beat and jumping back and forth between happy sounds, dark sounds. So that kind of brought me back to, you know what, this isn't working out. Let's try taxi again. So I was working towards sync a little bit, and that paid off for me. It hasn't paid off for me financially yet, but 2020 I got a track signed with a sync agency. Later on in 2020 I signed my first library deal, so I got 10 tracks signed with a library. Still haven't seen any placements there. So for anybody that does think that the sync licensing game is a get rich quick scheme, it's not. This stuff can take years to even see your first placement.
Feels like no matter what path you take, like, it's going to be a long mountain to climb to have any success. It's like, no matter which lane you pick. Before we get into all the sync licensing and stuff like that, I was just going to kind of start out with your YouTube producer channel. Because when did you start that channel? How long did it take you to get some momentum, like hit 1,000 subs on it?
In the time span when I started trying the type beats, that's how that channel actually started, was with type beats. So from 2018, I think early 2019, I just decided to post a couple beat making videos. First 2 were garbage, just poor lighting, everything, like most YouTubers. Bruh. And then the 3rd and 4th one, when I started focusing on making stuff with the machine, I started to get a little bit of traction. So I was like, you know what? This could probably be a good way for me to build an audience that way as a producer. So it was really 2019. I think I did about 6 or 7 videos. Then once the pandemic hit in 2020, I was actually growing a car channel to 1,500 subs the same time. I was working on growing the music channel. I don't do the car channel anymore, but yeah, I just dove headfirst into being a YouTuber. I got comfortable on camera. I learned how to edit. The way that I was approaching the music channel was kind of like a generalist approach. You know, I would do some stuff focused on sync licensing, some on making beats for X artists. I still think of it, you know, I've got a decent amount of subs, but I'm nowhere near a big YouTuber. So I think that it's important to have people like me, and there's a couple other guys that are been connecting with because of this, to have those people that are the in-between, you know, like, I'm having a little bit of success, but I'm not here telling you, hey, I just made $50,000 this month from selling beats.
Your videos are not only educational, but like, they're entertaining. And when I say entertaining, like, they have humor to them. And like you said, you seem like you're very comfortable on camera. Where you're at right now, everyone, you know, the whole reason everyone says, you know what, I'm going to start a YouTube channel and get monetized. Have you hit the monetized goals yet?
Yes.
Sweet.
Very recently. Yeah.
How is the income still pretty humble at this point?
Yeah, it's not, I don't know if you know, but for anybody that doesn't know listening, how the YouTube payments work, it's basically a dollar amount per 1,000 views that you get. Financial channels, fitness channels, things like that, they're on the higher end of the scale. Music producer ones, you're looking at like $5 to $7 per 1,000 views,
Yeah.
just from the ad revenue. Yeah. So, but I mean, steadily now for the last probably 4 or 5 months, going back to November anyways, just by using affiliate links, I've been able to generate $100, $200, $300 a month.
Yeah, I noticed that on some of your video descriptions. So like how do you reach out to those companies, or how does that work?
Yeah, so certain companies have thresholds. You know, they want somebody with X amount of followers. The Amazon affiliate ones, anybody can sign up for. You know, for people that are starting producer channels like that, don't hesitate to do that, because you never know when you're going to make some side income.
What are your thoughts on, the things that stop me from doing it are like, oh man, it's so saturated. You hear the stories about how much time it takes to edit if you're doing like proper YouTube videos. What is your take on that? How much time do you need to invest and post regularly to keep, or to grow a producer YouTube channel? As
far as the saturation in question, this is goes for any type of YouTube niche. The way you have to look at it is that, so let's just use the music producer niche, but every day there's a new producer, and that person is going and searching the same thing that's been made over and over again. But
true,
because you put out a new video on the same topic, you might be up there in the search, and that person might find you, and they're now going to be a loyal subscriber to you because that's just who they found when they were starting out. So there's no reason to ever fear that you're doing something that's oversaturated.
So it as far as like the time suck, the editing.
Yeah. So the editing itself, it used to take me a long time. One, I upgraded my computer so that I didn't have to sit and wait for things to render. So that's definitely going to be a limiting factor depending on what you're working on. But other than that, it's just like a DAW, right? You get comfortable with the video editing program, your keyboard shortcuts, and I've done a couple videos where I've had, multiple angles with the machine. But a lot of the times I'm just using OBS and filming the camera right on my computer and putting that on top of the DAW. So there's definitely ways to make it more efficient.
So the first time that I actually discovered you, when you popped up on my radar, was, probably like a year ago. And it was your video where you said, I'm done. I quit selling beats. I think that's probably one of your bigger videos, or you might even have two of them, right?
Yeah.
But so we've all been there, you're pushing and pushing, you're not getting any traction. What drove you to eventually say, all right, I'm done with selling beats online, I'm going to focus on something else? And then what brought you back to selling beats online? Let's hear that journey.
Yeah. The easiest way to say it is that I was narrow-minded. Everybody remembers when the MIDI money ClickFunnels were all the rage. Like, he was everywhere, every podcast. And I bought into that thinking, no, this is the way. I can think like a business person. This is the way that I'm going to do it successfully. And then I started diving into it, and it didn't sit well with me the way that it was presented. Everything from the video of you describing why you're a good producer to work with, because I'm trying to picture myself on the artist end thinking, this is cheesy. I don't want to buy from this person.
The videos are like, I'm looking for a handful of artists to work with, and it's like going out to 20,000 people. It's
yeah. And to be clear too, I'm not one of those people that think that it's a scam. Like, that obviously works very well for them. And if you went on the Facebook page that they have there's a lot of people that are doing well with it too. It's just, you have to find the right path for you, find out what's right for you. And that I probably should have given it a little bit more of a go, but I just decided, no, let's dive into the YouTube channel even more and keep focusing on the sync licensing stuff. So
it looks like you came back to selling beats. What brought you back?
Yeah, so it was definitely admitting that I never was consistent. If I was looking to have YouTube traffic as my main source, rather than trying to get cold traffic, I never did it consistently where I was targeting specific artists for like a good amount of time. Why would I be jumping back and forth through genres? Because then people are just going to get confused. The algorithm's going to get confused, and click-through rates won't be good. That was the first thing that kind of made me say, you know what, let's try that. And then I started really paying attention to the Heat YouTube channel, and they talked a lot about just email marketing itself. No talks of funnels or anything like that, but properly building relationships with artists, utilizing email lists. Even the times when I wasn't actively uploading on BeatStars or anything, I would once a month be getting a notification that, hey, you have somebody signed to your email list on Aweber.
I want to talk about the sync placements, and then I have a question that's going to tie it all together. So you mentioned earlier that you have experience with Taxi. I remember Taxi from back in the day. I looked into it a lot. When you go on like the forums and stuff like that, the thing that stopped me is it got a lot of negative feedback and stuff like that. Tell us about your experience. Or actually, first, tell the audience here, what is Taxi and what has been your experience with it?
So they're a middleman. They created this business model themselves. Yeah, essentially, they have been around for, I don't even know, 25, 30 years now. And they've just built the reputation with all the music libraries and music supervisors that run listings directly through them. So Taxi isn't just pulling these out of thin air. These are people saying, hey, we're looking for this kind of music. Can you run this listing for us and have them to us by this time? Within that, there is a $5 submission fee that you have to pay. And the whole purpose of that is just so that they don't get you trying to fit a square peg into a triangle hole, sending whatever you want to, right? Otherwise, they would be spending way more hours paying people to sift through that. And it's just not a smart business model. Yeah, I understand, because there are people that tried to do the same business model that are actually scamming people. A lot of the times they're actually just using the Taxi listings on their website. Yeah, so like all the people screening your music a lot of them are actually currently working at music libraries, or they might even own their own music libraries. Like, they're all professional people. It's not just Joe Schmo saying, yeah, that music's good, let's send it off.
That's cool. And you said you've had 10 tracks accepted, or?
Yeah, so signed with a music library. That, for me, just my luck. The first signing like that. They're actually formerly a trailer house, so they only work with trailer music, and now they're shifting into a music production library. So things have kind of been slow moving with them, but hopefully I'll be seeing some placements from that soon. And they're giving me briefs. I contacted the owner and started to work on some stuff for the upcoming NFL season. So that would be really cool too.
That would be awesome.
But yeah, I think the real value for Taxi, and I'll say this too, that you can learn everything outside of Taxi for free on YouTube. Especially now, there's some really good guys, Clint Music, Excalibur Zero, like they're giving really great content. The way I looked at it always was just kind of like, one, it's keeping me accountable. I didn't really know how to structure music properly and what types of music. Like, if somebody told me before I ever started doing Taxi that urban tension was a genre of music, I would be like, well, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
But it's the same music you hear over and over again on Keeping Up with the Kardashians and all the other reality TV shows, which is the tutorials I show on my channel, right? Like, it's essentially trap drums with usually horns and just certain builds that make it sound like it's dramatic tension, like something tense is going on in the TV show. Yeah, so for me, it's just, it was a really great way to learn about the industry, how it worked, and what types of music were being looked for. You do get very useful feedback from the screeners if your music isn't forwarded.
Have you, as far as like sync placements and stuff like that, have you ventured other libraries like outside of Taxi and just tried to approach them directly?
So that is my plan now. My current Taxi membership is actually up in May, and I'm not going to be renewing. I'm going to be going solo right now. Keep working with the company that I do have the track signed with, and then I have a list of other ones that I've already researched and looked into that have similar genres of music that I produce in that I'll be reaching out to. Yeah, sync licensing is tricky, and I heed warning to a lot of people that think that it's easy, because it is getting more and more popular right now, especially in the hip hop side of things. It's not easy. Let's just say that.
What are the most popular like genres for that? Like, I gotta imagine trap is huge.
Hip hop is not going anywhere. And a lot of the times they're looking for, I think I saw one for like a blues hip hop crossover. There's hip hop, they call it. So country instruments with hip hop beats.
Do these libraries ask for like full track outs, or are they working with like the WAV files?
Yeah, it'll vary widely. Sometimes all they want is the full track and then the stinger, which is the last part of the song. Some want 15-second cuts, 30-second cuts, 60-second cuts.
What's the stinger?
You know, or where like it builds up and it
like the clock. Oh, okay.
Right?
Like a transition moment.
Yeah, because then what they
like,
can do is take any 4-bar section and then throw that stinger on at the end to cut to their next scene or cut to their commercial.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, this is a whole new world. You kind of have a hand. Here's my overall question, which I struggle with. So you have a hand in, you know, selling beats online, you know, pursuing the sync licensing and owning a producer YouTube channel with like only so many hours in a week. Do you think you can, I mean, is it possible to be successful at all three, or do you have to dedicate your time? Like for me, 90% of my time goes into the Type Beat channel, and then 5% goes into this podcast, and it's more just for the fun of it. But I do find times where I'm like, oh, I got it. You know, I can't work on the podcast right now. I got to, you know, keep pumping the beats out. How do you manage all that? And do you think you can be successful at all three?
And I think the reason that I'm choosing to do that now is because I've already pivoted all those times where I did the stretch where I was only doing sync licensing. I did the stretch where I was only doing the YouTube channel, and I did the stretch where I was only trying the Type Beat channel. So now I can kind of look at it and say, you know what, it is possible to do that. I'm certainly not going to be doing, you know, uploads every day on the Type Beat channel, 3 YouTube videos a week, pumping out 10 sync licensing tracks. Yeah, it's not easy for sure, but I'm comfortable with releasing 1 YouTube video a week, 3 Type Beats a week, and the sync licensing is just kind of working on whatever it is that I have on the plate at the time to work on, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's a week right there. If you can knock that out, 1 YouTube video, 3 Type Beats, and then, you know, submit to some sync licensing. What is your process like? Do you try to make like a Type Beat for your Type Beat channel and then reformat it for the libraries? Like I've watched a couple Clint videos where he's like, they only want like a minute 30 of the track. So do you have to like go back to all your beats that you put out for consumers that are usually around 3 minutes and then reformat them to like the minute 30? Yeah,
you would in that case. I keep them separately. A lot of the times with the Type Beats, I am using at least some sort of loop, whether it's, you know, just a single instrument loop on my melody that I'm adding in. So I wouldn't be using that for sync licensing because that is becoming more and more of a problem, that a lot of libraries don't want to work with people that are using any type of royalty-free loops.
Yeah, that's a good, I mean, let me ask about that. Like Splice, can you use Splice loops in there?
So I don't know. It's hard because
there's a gray area there. Like what about Arcade? Which is right. Basically a virtual instrument of samples.
Yeah. The thing people say right now is just make it so that it's not detectable. So you're going to have to flip the loop. You know, you're definitely not using the same key and tempo. But I don't know. It's hard to say, man. Cause like I think there was a Taco Bell commercial on that long ago that I'm like, I have that splice loop. This person just put drums to it, and he probably got paid thousands.
Yeah, no, I've definitely heard stuff that I'm like, oh, I just heard that on Splice.
Yeah.
Are you trying to get to a place where you're doing music full time?
For sure, and that's why another reason why I'm doing multiple avenues, because successful businessmen will tell you that it's having a diverse portfolio is what actually is going to make you wealthy, right? So
what would you say has been your biggest success in producing music so far?
I mean, I do feel right now that it has to be the YouTube channel, just because that's the reason that I'm getting these opportunities, like doing this podcast and BeatStars reaching out to me.
Cool. Let me counter that with what has been your biggest failure, and I won't leave you hanging on this one. I'll give you a few of mine as well.
If I had to do it again, I wouldn't have given up back in 2012, 2013, because the thing that sticks in my head is that the girl that I was working with that ended up using two of my tracks, she told me how she bought leases for the rest of the tracks that she was using on the EP. And it just never clicked in my head to say, hang on, people are selling their music online like that? Because if I
So
had
that
a,
so that
yeah,
was like before you were on like BeatStars or any.
yeah.
Okay,
So I'm
yeah.
just thinking, the competition was so much less back then. If I had that click in my head and said, just stick with this and it's going to pay off. But
Yeah.
yeah.